Good evening and welcome to the Minions of the Zoo. I'm your host and keeper of the Harry Channel, and with me tonight are minions Sora Luna,
Hello.
DrFunctional,
Yeah.
and SkepTock.
Hi, everybody.
So I think it's going to be a relatively low energy edition tonight. So if you're looking for a dynamic force for change, it's okay. Oh, that's right. You're all riled up because you saw a movie today or yesterday.
2 days ago, but
2 days ago.
Other reasons too.
Oh, okay. Well, why don't you tell me about some of these reasons, as you call them?
Well, saw a couple movies. Madam Web, I thought it was great.
Okay.
Get into that in a second. Wonka, I thought it was one of the most disgusting cinematic abortions I've ever seen.
Excellent.
And this game that everybody's all riled up about, Helldivers 2, which, oh my God, you get to live your greatest fantasy of being in Starship Troopers.
Nice. So the game is good.
The game is fantastic. It's one of the best games I've played in 20 years.
And the name of it is Helldivers.
Helldivers 2. It's a sequel to another game that wasn't the exact same.
Well, diversity is our strength.
Yeah, Helldiverse.
No. Skep, this game is so incredibly based. Like the advertisements for it are like, straight out of Verhoeven's movie. It's like, we fight for freedom. We fight for democracy. And there's two main villains, protagonists, antagonists so far. The bugs, which is everything you would expect. There's tiny little skitters that like charge you in waves. There's giant bio-titan things that like, oh dear God. Excuse me. And then there's the other invasive species into Super Earth system. Yes, they call it Super Earth.
Yeah.
Demonetized.
Regular Earth is for losers.
Basically, the automatons who are, Terminators, and they're crazy constructs of war. One kind of suspiciously looks like an ATST walker, but whatever, it's cool. And oh my God, like not only am I having an immense amount of fun and not doing as much work as I should because of this game, but the people that you just randomly jump into games with are all super cool. Like, it's not like some other games like Overwatch or something where that's a little bit of a different, it's a PvP game, it's an arena shooter. This is pure team-based combat, Helldivers is. Where the lobbies and the people just, and I deign to use the word, but they're so toxic. They're just so high-strung and reactionary to every little thing. It's like, dude, chill out. We're playing a video game. In fact, you're on my fucking team. Why don't we have a little camaraderie here? But no, like, so far, Helldivers, and it's like $20 American. $20 in today's market. It's I couldn't not buy the game. And yeah, like, as soon as I bought it, my Steam playlist, like, all my friends are playing it. I'm like, oh, okay, that's pretty good. So, I mean, if you like co-op, you like Terminator and space, and it's so much fun.
Good.
So much fun. So, yeah, that's got me, like, supercharged. I was playing that just before the show, actually. All freaking day. Jesus Christ. Anyway, you got to spread democracy by force. You can't suffer the Xenos or the abomination to live.
Okay, I've got a slogan for you. Okay.
You need to defend humanity.
Okay, here's my slogan for you. Democracy. It's too important to be left to chance. Okay, that's for free. I just did that for free.
I like
came up with
it.
Yeah.
And you can name your vessel from
my vessel.
Your flagship. Each character has the vessel with the pestle.
Is it a nuclear vessel?
In Alameda. You can
Sorry,
name your
I rewatched
ship
Star
from
Trek
some
4
like
recently.
pre-generated. Anyway, my flagship is called the Hammer of Family Values.
That's
nice.
Very nice.
Anyway,
okay.
So Madam Web, I thought was great, unintentionally so, and without giving anything really away. The protagonist's mother, it opens with her in the deep jungles of Peru at 8 months pregnant, and I'm like, wait, what?
Nice.
You're literally weeks away from giving birth, and you're deep in the jungle.
Listen, we've got to get the powers somehow.
Mhm.
You know.
That's called
I mean-
squandering your audience goodwill in the first scene.
Yeah, I mean, she's such a bad mother. I mean, even with the reveals at the end and everything, you're like, that wasn't worth anything, you dumb. Anyway.
Yeah, and Chelsea's like, where are the spiders? I want to go. Where are the best and most interesting spiders? Me and my 8-month-old embryo are going to head there.
Right.
What's the worst that could happen?
And excuse me.
It's just such
Let's forget about the cliche of the locals you hire to guide you, turning on you and killing you or whatever. Like, sorry, that's in the first 2 minutes of the movie. It's not really a spoiler. And so there's 4 main characters. There's Madam Web herself and her little spider girls, let's call them, who are not really spider girls in this movie, which I've heard from a lot of the talking heads that this was a problem. And I'm like, but it's called Madam Web. It's not called like Madam Web and her spider girls. It's just these are future superheroes somehow that she knows of, and she has to protect them. It's basically the story. But
Yeah.
the 3 girls are so it's so base. The black girl, she's so incredibly black, and oh my god,
Like,
she's
like
violent.
almost
And they
offensively
But
stereotypical.
no, they're all stereotyped. She's violent. She's a thief. Has 0 like self-worth, but on top of that has 0 regard for any human life, any other human beings. She starts dancing on a table in a diner like a skank and like convinces the other girls this is the thing to do to be normal. And it's like, what are you trying to say with this? Anyway, the Hispanic girl, again, her daddy gets deported or got deported, and he was illegal, and now she can't go to the cops or anything because she's entirely alone and they'll deport her and blah 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 blah. Even though she was born in the United States, so I just, oh my god, the stereotypes, delicious. And then the white girl is just so plain Jane, almost does nothing and says nothing, but when they need to talk about something super sciencey or super smart physics and stuff, she immediately chimes in and like, oh well, that's just the quantum field and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, just the quantum field.
So she's the one with the she had to realign the deflector dish. She's the one who's going to be like girl boss, smart girl, and then the other 2 are going to be
The muscle.
The muscle. I in future films.
Wait,
they
like,
don't do power.
They don't
stuff.
have an Asian girl to be the super smart scientist?
No, it was the nerdy white girl who's like completely introverted, nerdy, stereotypical socks and high socks and low skirts, and looks like she came out of a 1950s ad for a family.
For mayonnaise. She looks like the poster girl for mayonnaise.
Well, she is a male monkey. She's totally a male monkey.
I like
And
mayonnaise,
then, like,
and I
the
can't
whole
dance. I
movie is
fit the
basically
stereotype.
The woman, Madam Web, helps the girls, gets crippled and blinded, and it was hilarious. It was hilarious. It's so unintentionally so. And then the protagonist, antagonist. I keep saying anyway.
Yeah, the other one.
Is
The
basically,
thing.
Is basically Spider-Man. Like, I mean, they gave him the same costume. The bad guy has the same costume and look. It's not blue, it's like gray, but it's gray and red and looks exactly like Spider-Man. That was just so off-putting. It was like, wait, what? And so
Was
you're
it someone
setting
who's
this
trying to pretend they're Spider-Man to get people to hate Spider-Man kind of thing?
I don't know, because if you fast forward to the already established canon that they intentionally inject this into the MCU world, it's like, but nobody even heard of Spider-Man until like the 2000s or late 90s or something. It was just so, it was a chaotic mess, but it wasn't the offensive tragedy that a lot of movies have been, like the Marvels or Eternals or some of this other crap. It just
Mhm.
it I could see myself watching this with somebody and laughing all the way and just being like, look at how absurd and how comically based and unintentionally based this movie is.
I'm going to go see it, but I'm going to see it, but I'm not going to go see it. As soon
Yeah,
as I can
yeah.
see it from the comfort of my home, I don't think I want to take the time to go to a movie theater for this, but I definitely
wouldn't.
have it on my watch list.
It's one of those things that you can watch once and throw away and go, "Ha, that was funny." Moving on. It's not like a Mel Brooks movie where you could watch it every day for the rest of your life and be happy, kind of comedy.
So speaking of moving on, look at that seamless segue. Skep,
Oh yeah.
Beautiful.
Yes.
would you do me a favor and say hello to all of our fine guests in chat? Because you do it way better than I do.
And we do have some very fine guests in
Very fine.
chat this evening. I was saying hello to Blake earlier, and Mike came and joined us. Badger's here. Joel McLaughlin is here, and Cryptic stopped by to say hello, and I hope he's still around. Looks like he's posting in there, and that's pretty much everybody, and the bunch of us here. It's hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Welcome to an evening of scintillating broadcast. Excellent, brought to you by the Harry Channel and Minions of the Zoo. And that's about the way chat looks, Harry.
Well, that's an excellent summary. I saw Joel there, and it's like today. God, I set up a big stack of servers with multiple VLANs and 10 gigabit this and all this stuff. I had to program these MikroTik switches. They're from Slovenia, and they're very, very good for very little money, but they're kind of hard to figure out how to use if you're not used to them. So it's a bit of a pain. And I was busy tracking down all kinds of esoteric problems. My little AT&T router, I had to, at one point I was rebooting it every 5 minutes because it couldn't keep up with the demand I was placing on it from outside. Poor little thing. It got all
I know
sad.
exactly the problem.
Well, I'll tell you about, there were actually two problems, and I'll tell you about them after the chat, because outside of you, me, and possibly Joel, I'm not sure there's a lot of general interest. So tell me about your life. Black Eyed Peas, all the good stuff.
Yes. So it's been a day spent outside. We made the decision to go with black eyed peas for the rest of the garden. So it's going to be tomatoes, potatoes, black eyed peas, and the ground is broken and properly tilled. We do all that by hand, by the way. Part of that's by design. You could actually afford a tiller if you want one, but it's really good exercise. And between that and then walking the dogs several miles, and then I usually jog, a little bit, like 3/4 of a mile or so. It makes for an all day kind of a workout. So I'm just all settled back in my chair. I had planned to have a nap this afternoon, and that didn't materialize. So, but I'm properly caffeinated. I'm actually quite wide awake. There's sometimes a lot of exercise is very stimulating for me for a while. Anyway, I'll eventually crash.
You ride those endorphins. How the hell do you do that, Skep?
How do I do?
Is
what?
it just because?
Practice.
Well, no, do all of that. Yeah, that's what I was alluding to. Was it like because it was ingrained in you in your service? Like you just kept going with it, or?
Well, I've been doing this since I was a kid.
Yeah.
I just tend to do things.
Stay active. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was always the kid who was going around town hustling up gardening jobs. Gardening jobs were amazing because the women all felt sorry for you, poor little kid having to go out and work. And I milked that. I learned a lot about human nature those summers, and I learned how to make a lot of money from really revolutionizing how people's gardens look. I would go up to places that just had looked like shit and said, I can make that look a lot better, and I would give them a price and let me do it. And I'd weed it out, clear it out, put a bunch of mulch down, and it looked great. And they were happy. I was happy. And that was my MO. And it wasn't that I had to do that. I just wanted to do that, partly for the spending money, but partly just to be doing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I've always liked doing stuff.
Well, what's the alternative? Doing nothing?
Doing nothing, exactly.
I mean, I know that's a goal that some people aspire to. And
Well, I'm retired. I'm not doing anything now.
well, I mean, it's probably good just for your well-being, just not to stop. You don't want to stop.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It's like
People
a disk
stop,
drive.
stop.
You know, if you've got a really old disk drive, for God's sakes, don't power it off if you don't have a backup, because there's like a 1 in 10 chance it will not spin back up again.
Well, yeah, 1 in 10 chance it will.
Yeah.
I have been there. I have been there.
I had a batch of like a few thousand drives. They were Seagates, and this particular batch had a problem where they would, even though they're relatively new, if you powered them off, there was about a 1% chance they would not power back on. They wouldn't spin up.
Jesus.
Okay. Turned out that the procedure that Seagate gave us was, they said, well, before you send it back for an RMA, just pick it up, hold it about 4 inches above a hard floor and drop it, and then try powering it up again.
Right.
And often it would work.
You try dropping it on and off
No,
again?
no. Hang on. Hold on.
Exactly.
I'm going to back up Harry, because the Apple III manual, the first computer to ever have 256K of memory, the very first thing it told you to do was raise the front of the. It was a
monitor. It was a console
keyboard monitor. It was all.
It was either the ADM3A or the VT52, and I don't remember which one it was. I'm pretty sure it was one of those two.
But anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
And the first troubleshooting thing, it said lift the front edge 3 inches off the desk and let it fall, let it drop. And
Yeah.
Because what it does is it reseats circuit boards. It causes potentially marginal connections or things that might have just slipped out a little bit to maybe clank back into place and work for you. And believe it or not, sometimes that worked, especially on a new one, especially on a new Apple III computer.
And look how far we've come, where if you drop your iPhone 3 inches from your desk onto the top, it breaks.
That's why I have a mil-spec cop phone. Not because I'm mil-spec or a cop, just I got really tired of replacing phones because I'd fall asleep and I'd drop them and then they'd hit the floor, by the side of the bed, and then I'd go, really, you died over that?
I got one of
may or
those.
may not have cracked 2, 3, maybe 4 transistor boards that way on my laptops.
I don't have an OtterBox. I have
felt
one of the other ones that looks like a
OtterBox.
board. No, it looks like a board kind of covering, but it's really good. Like, I can throw this thing against the wall like a fastball, and it'll just clink down to the ground and just be fine.
And just some bubble wrap, put it in a couple Ziploc bags, walk around with it. It's fine.
I have a Google phone, but nobody else has a Google phone. I've got.
Yeah, that's what mine is. Google phone.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Do you like it? Do you like the
Yeah,
OS?
it's fine. I'm not a big phone guy, but like it does what I need it to.
Yeah.
I can put shit on the monitors that are in and around my house. There's one in the bedroom. There's one in front of my hobby desk, so I can just, hey, I want to watch Next Generation. Here, put this on the screen.
I find it's
Emails.
It runs applications very confidently.
I've tried running a couple games on it, and they run fine. I'm just not. Why would I play it on this when I've got a multi-$1,000 system for gaming?
Well, no,
It's not my thing. But it's this one now. I think this is like the 2nd gen Google phone, and it's what, 8 years old now, something like that, and it's still fine. It's got a little crack in the top of the corner of the glass, but that happened 2 years ago when I was cleaning it. I took it out of the case and I dropped it without the case. So shit happens. Technobox, that's what they call these things.
Well, my phone
It honestly looks like Borg tech.
My phone has a feature which I personally think trumps almost every other phone out there that's modern. I have a replaceable battery in my phone that I can replace myself without using a single tool.
What? Really?
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
All phones used to have that.
Yeah. It's just like having an old Nokia. This is what I have.
Nice.
Kyocera Duraforce
Can I?
Pro 3. and it is built like a brick shithouse. It's actually
Goodness, oh,
pretty awesome. But anyway, I heard Sora's voice. Sora, you're still here, right? You haven't
No.
given up on us, no? It's the
Son of a bitch,
spirit
you're
of
right, I
Sora.
can't
That's
take it
all that's
better.
left. So, what do you have anything you want to share with the class before we begin?
Oh,
What have you
nothing.
been doing?
Nothing
Nothing.
really. Well, one of my coworkers has Friday was her last day,
Oh,
so we are back to having potentially to do some OT like weekend stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
oh.
It hasn't happened yet, but it's going to be a very painful Monday. So I'm literally wanting to do nothing this weekend, but we basically are prepping for the dig site that will be my home in the spring by like cleaning out the shed, moving things around, and then that's it. Today
So you're
was
going to live in a shed?
no. We just have to put anything we don't want stolen into the shed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, place all your valuables in there and then put a padlock on it.
It'll be fine.
It'll be fine. Yeah. I can't
I'm
imagine
just
what could
hoping.
possibly go wrong with this plan.
It's it's because the things that we're putting in there are really nice pieces of wood, and that will be stolen if left out.
Hmm.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
what people take wood, shovels, especially if there's no shovels, those will disappear.
Well, don't you Canadians
And
have like pet beavers that you have to feed or something? So you steal wood from each other?
that's probably why. I think my neighbors have unlicensed beavers.
Probably a colony of them. Hey, his water pressure's kind of low. Curse you!
I'm just fighting the urge to make just Canada is
You need to move a little closer to your mic, Skep.
Canada is such a funny place.
It really is.
Let's see. I have a palate cleanser that's Canadian. Let me see. We can do. Nobody's the boss of us. We can do whatever we want. Okay. Where are
It's like
you?
the
Even-
British Empire, the United States had a child and then beat it mercilessly, mocked it as it was growing up, and that's Canada.
Okay. Let's see. The title I have here is "Get Fucked Canada."
Canada is Brazil with daddy issues.
It's just a meme, but I enjoyed it. Get fucked, Canada. You have nothing now. Americans are nicer than Canadians. Airplane etiquette survey reports.
I understand that. I understand that completely. You know, I've got.
I have only noticed the opposite. What the hell did we do?
You know,
Fuck.
I
New York.
actually had. I'll bet other people, maybe
This
some
false
consultants
fact.
on this call, have had enough truck with Canadians. You know, they are almost preternaturally polite and kind and decent. I mean, I had a long involved consulting contract that I had to go to Kelowna, Canada, which is this resort place in this beautiful
Mhm.
part of Canada.
Yeah.
And those people who live up there, they're the nicest people ever. Everybody's so nice and helpful. If you look lost in the middle of town, somebody, are you from out of town, eh? You know, they you don't even notice their flapping little heads.
You are a racist, sir. That is racist.
They, and
Worry.
it's so cranked into the Canadian psyche to be easygoing, I guess. I mean, it really is like a cultural value. Canadians are nice, and I at least
It's-
that's
okay,
been my experience.
We're
let
nice
me-
to strangers.
No.
Visitors.
Well,
We are not nice. We're polite.
Polite.
Real
Yes.
Canadians.
There's a
because
difference.
There is a difference because I've had previous like friends and acquaintances coming from the States, moving here, going losing their mind because what the hell? I thought everyone's nice here, and like, no, welcome to Canada. We hate you people. Uh, please leave.
We're just
Don't
too
come
polite to
back.
tell you how much we hate you.
But no, people are polite here. They're not nice to you. We don't want to be your friend. We want you to get out of our face. Please end this interaction with me. And
Please
by
and
being
thank you.
nice, polite to you, and just helping you out means you leave faster.
So that's the
That is
real Canadian.
that is at least West Coast Canada.
The illusion
No,
of
we get
niceness.
that. We get that here. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know,
It-
the East
Go
Coast,
away.
my experience on the right side of Canada, my experience on the left side of Canada is friendly Canadians with their,
Well, yeah, you
They're
have to get out of the.
But you went to
But I
a
also
small town.
I also have experiences in Montreal. That's a
Yeah,
whole
no,
different
that's-
story, my friends.
No, that's
Yeah,
that's
Montreal, Toronto.
I spoke French very nervously up there, but I spoke French because I didn't want to speak English.
probably good.
So yes,
Not want to.
sorry to take that last thing from you, Canada. But okay, anyway, a little bit of housekeeping
First you
before
take
we.
the guns per capita, now the friendliness.
Well, first, before we do get into like the real scheduled stuff, I just have a little bit of housekeeping to do. Last week, I sort of said I don't particularly feel the need to try to compete to be the world's greatest edgelord, so I can quit my job and become a full-time YouTuber. And there's so many of these people that are trying. Okay, so this is Brandy Cruz, and she's got like the good lighting, and she's got the American flag behind her, and she got like the whole fake living room off to the side that you'd see if this wasn't a short. She actually produces pretty good content, and she's got all of 271 likes and really not that many views on this thing. I mean, because she's actually churning out, if you want red meat, pretty good content. But of course, even if you were really good at it, you still have to fight with the YouTube algorithm. So I kind of like look at a lot of the edgelord stuff and go, sort of, what's the point? Which doesn't mean that we won't talk about politics. I just don't think there's a whole lot of upside, to trying to, be the edgiest one to make the audience happy so that everybody will go, oh, Harry's the edgiest edgelord of all edgelords. That's just not me. I'd much rather just talk about stuff that makes me laugh and tech, and occasionally gripe about politics. But apparently, Nikki Haley couldn't win the primary in the state that she was governor in and that she lives in.
Not only that, got beat
Destroyed.
1.5 to 1. Got the guy who beat her got 50% more votes. It wasn't like it was close.
Yeah.
Crushed her. I mean, it's not really a surprise. The guy is a strong candidate. He's probably the strongest candidate in my lifetime that you guys.
Right. They had half the Democrats in South Carolina were voting for Haley too. The Dems got out there and beating the bushes for them to cross over and vote, against Trump, and he's just crushingly strong in the South.
Yeah.
I will say, Harry, that I've been getting a lot more of my personal red meat on Rumble. It's so much harder to find exactly what I'm looking for on Rumble, because even with the algorithm, not so much shadow banning someone like her, that I don't know her name, the woman.
Brandy Krause. And she's
Cruz.
from sort of Washington State, so her stuff is national, but with a real slant toward the bullshit that goes on in Seattle.
Good at covering that kind of political red meat.
Yeah.
Even if she's not being like shadow banned or anything, but she's not being promoted. I find it easier to kind of find that kind of stuff on YouTube still. Like, you have to dig through a lot on Rumble, but I think people are a little bit more, when they are presenting on Rumble, are a little bit more loose in what they talk about. They don't have to be careful of, whatever checkboxes YouTube decides that they want to. Sorry for the aside, but I can't get enough of trying to get more people into that platform, because it's
Does Rumble have an algorithm?
They do. It's just not as developed as obviously Google's is.
Yeah. But anyway, that was just sort of an aside. So
Yeah.
there's another little political thing. New bill to end daylight savings time switch in California differs from previous efforts in one key way. There's one in each body of the legislature here. And this is different in that instead of changing things so you're always on daylight savings time, in this one, you just never go on daylight savings time. You just stay on standard time all year. And you don't actually have to get permission from anybody. If the state just voted this in, they could just say, okay, we're not doing this time change thing anymore, because in the existing daylight savings time laws nationally, states have the option to opt out. California could just could just stay on standard time all the time. They wouldn't have to get permission from anybody.
Indiana and Arizona are the two that opted out, right?
Yeah. And I don't particularly, I actually don't have a problem with this, because I think daylight savings time has kind of outlived what little usefulness it had. And I don't like seeing little kids go to school in the dark at 7:30 in the morning, because that just seems like a bad idea. So, yeah, sure. I mean, all the things that I said critically about the let's be on daylight savings time all the time, I actually have no issue with this. Sure, go ahead. Don't threaten me with a good time. Let's just not have daylight savings time ever again.
I'm with you. I have thought daylight savings time was silly since I heard about it.
Yeah.
I've never heard a convincing or even a cogent argument for it to keep it.
All it is what we call a time of day. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It really is all it is. It doesn't.
And in 2 generations, nobody will
anything
remember.
Yes.
In 2 generations, Skep, it'll just be the norm. So I mean, it's not like it's a huge paradigm shift in society.
No,
that's
7
o'clock is 7 o'clock is 7 o'clock at night. It doesn't.
No,
matter.
functional. That's a good insight. That's a and that's almost like it's failing its own test. Meaning that if it's forgotten in 2 generations, that this curious, weird thing that people used to switch the time of day twice a year. They'd switch it forward and switch it back 1 hour. Mm-hmm. And, the reason is obscure, lost to history,
Yeah, I mean, I would even like to see on a, global scale, we all sort of come together and say, hey, whether it's Greenwich Mean Time or whatever, this is now the Earth Standard Time.
Yeah.
And then as we do things, extra planetary, it just sort of like makes sense. Oh, at 7 o'clock, this happened. Okay, well, we know on the ISS it's 7 o'clock. It's 7 o'clock here. It's whatever. It's stupid. Another stupid aside.
It's more important to us though to be able to describe a time of day in common terms. Numerically, it has become important to us in the sharing of information. I actually don't think we'll ever get to what you're talking about, where everybody's on exactly the same clock and it's just different times.
No, I meant the development. It not everybody has to ascribe to it. I think your local time, so that you do have that common cultural. It gets dark for basically everyone within the what do you call those lines? Tropics. That it basically gets dark for everyone, which is 98% of the population.
Tropic of Capricorn, is that what?
Yeah, in between those, from there to the equator and back
lines.
again.
Yes.
It basically gets dark at 8 o'clock for everybody. So whether or not you're from Australia or Canada or England or whatever, generally nighttime it starts to get dark at 8 o'clock. Okay, I mean that's a good cultural sort of cohesion across the world. I'm just saying, like, we have this thing called Greenwich Mean Time, but maybe just slap a new label on it and say, oh, this is Earth Standard.
Well, they already have. It's called Universal Coordinated Time.
Yeah, Zulu time.
Oh,
right.
Well, you can't call it Zulu because that's appropriation, and only the military calls it that. Well, maybe does aviation use it?
I still call it Zulu.
I know you do, but is that used in aviation as well, or is it only military?
Very much so.
Okay, so commercial aviation uses it as well.
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
Yeah. I do the same thing. Actually, just to be contrary, I think when I was in 2nd grade, I decided to just avoid daylight savings time for an entire year. I just said, no, I'm not changing my watch. This is the way it is. I don't care.
Zulu time is GMT. It is Greenwich Mean Time.
Well, yes.
Oh, okay. Then scratch.
Did
my
you not
account,
know
because
that?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
no, you
so I mean, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
No, it's currently 4:37 a.m.
So when you put on your VR gear and go gaming with your buddies, now you'll know what time it is. You won't be late for the fake rage on Fallujah. It'll be fine.
Fallujah. No, it's on New Caprica,
New Caprica, of course.
fighting Cylons.
So
Game is so cool.
not that I
Get with it, Harry.
I'm sorry.
Get with it, Harry.
I know it's not that
Yeah,
I
live long and prosper.
completely avoid red meat. I have a little bit of red meat. Okay. Have you
boy.
guys heard of
Yes.
Tiffany Haynard, super mayor of Dalton Township?
Yeah.
Super criminal.
Tiffany Henyard.
Have you heard about this woman?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
She went to Robert Morris College. Did you know that?
I'm not sure that's the salient detail, but
She majored in business. She did not major in political science. Graduated summa cum laude, and she was, valedictorian of her high school. Just miss everything, and she got to be president of Dalton, Illinois, and basically. The fox was in charge of the hen house, and she started having some fun with the town's money. And,
Oh boy, did she!
under her head.
yeah, she goes on expensive trips because, of course, the mayor of Dalton Township, spelled Dolton, needs to
With
go on
Dalton,
expensive trips.
Dalton.
You definitely have to do outreach. Build those business opportunities with Akron. It's just. She does some pretty crazy things, like she'll do things like have a DJ show up and do sound effects for her when she's at city council meetings.
Yes.
And
She's also hiring all her buddies on these fat contracts, and they're just making off with the money.
yeah, and she has a charity that the Secretary of State has told her, no, you cannot take any donations for a while, because she sort of didn't bother to actually register her charity with the state and hasn't bothered to disclose anything about the finances of the charity for a couple years now.
I'm sure this is just like the Harvard president's plagiarism thing. It just need to change some paperwork on the back
Yeah.
end.
So let's see. I think we've got a little video here.
Fox 32 has information that indicates the FBI has launched an investigation into controversial Dalton mayor and Thornton Township supervisor Tiffany Henyard.
Dane Placco has been following allegations of her misspending and joins us now with an update.
We've been reporting
Let's
for nearly
skip ahead.
the FBI agents you talked to seem serious about.
Okay, so the FBI is looking into her and went around and talked to a bunch of people in the town, including this guy with the U-Haul. It turns out a number of folks who haven't supported her are having trouble getting their business licenses renewed.
Yes.
Oh,
not
really?
just one, but several of them. So he's got this U-Haul business and having trouble getting his business license renewed. There were a number of people that got interviewed who run like a couple of bars who were who were on the news and were talked to by the FBI. And then this happened.
Well, more controversy is brewing in South suburban Dalton.
So last night, police shut down 2 popular bars. One trustee says the reason? Because they're not financially supporting Dalton's mayor, Tiffany Henyard. Our Dane Placco has more.
Is it coincidence or retaliation? Both of the Dalton bars that were raided and shut down last night, we visited the day before as part of our ongoing investigation into allegations of political corruption in Dalton.
Yeah, 2 hours after the piece aired on TV, the police came in there with like 10 squad cars in one of the cases and shut these places down. Now,
Like, aren't you supposed to be subtle when you do this kind of corruption?
one would think this is very old school. It's as if she forgot TV cameras exist. It's
like she thinks it's 1920s in Chicago.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff that used to happen back then there.
She thinks she's Denzel Washington from Training Day.
Yeah.
King Kong ain't got nothing on me. And the best part is the other trustees, the other members of city council are the ones who got the FBI involved.
Yeah.
Like they were just they were so fed up with her bullshit. They were so fed up with her bullshit and all of this. They a couple of the members called the FBI and said, "Hey, look, our mayor is a criminal. Like, this needs to be investigated. And for all intents and purposes, she controls the police. So we've got no other recourse but to call the FBI."
Yeah. When she first started her little charity thing like 2-3 years ago, the first thing she did was have one of the cities that she works with donate $10,000 to her little charity. Because that's a good use of city funds. Why not? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so she's spending money on all sorts of stuff. She's, it's just like, the reason that the justification for this was because they said these people didn't have a business license. They kept operating after the city sort of would not renew their license. And if it was just one thing, you'd think, okay, well, maybe there's some reason why, it's a health reason or sanitation. No, a whole bunch of businesses that just happen to not be paying their protection money to the mayor all have had trouble with their licenses and are being stepped on by the police. You wouldn't think such a thing would be possible, but apparently it is. Oh, man.
I don't even think she's going to make it to the election, the next election cycle, which is this year, 2024 in Dalton.
She can be lucky to stay out of jail.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, she's probably going to see some kind of ejection.
Yeah.
And she ran up like a $7 million debt or something. I don't. There's just so many.
Yeah, the town is in debt, but the trouble is we actually don't know how in debt it is because she's refusing to reveal the numbers to the Board of Supervisors or the City Council.
Yeah.
So they're asking for it, and she's saying, no, this is just a waste of time. It's just a waste of time. You're just trying to.
God.
Yeah, she's needs to go to jail. I think if this keeps up, educated black women are going to have a real PR problem between the Attorney General of the state of New York and Fannie Willis and this woman.
Ass Willis.
There's an awful lot of
talk about Willis.
People misbehaving in the press these days.
Acting a fool. And Dalton, correct me if I'm wrong, is like predominantly black too. It's like 80% black city or town.
Well, they could have just elected one of the women who wasn't, wasn't corrupt, or maybe like a dude, just anybody who wasn't her. And again, it's hard to weed through because there's just so much information surrounding it. You have to sort of, find what's true and what's not. But I did read something that her initial campaign that got her elected was, for all intents and purposes, she looked clean. It was a good campaign, and she got into office cleanly. But with the second she got into office, that's when all these red flags started popping up, and then all of a sudden, what? What? She did what? Yeah, I'm generally not in favor of recalls and impeachment, but this is a great example.
You're breaking the law.
Yeah, this is a great example. So, Skep, try not to be too surprised. I don't want you to fall out of your chair over what's about to happen here. The Russian pilot who defected to Ukraine with an Mi-8 helicopter was shot to death in Spain. Imagine how could such a thing happen? I mean, surely Spetsnaz and all those people would not operate outside the borders of Russia to send a message to somebody.
A simple phone call.
Yeah, he was probably flashing some new iPhone or something, and it was just a simple, honest mistake. Yeah. Yep. He urged other Russians to defect and said they would be set for life. Spanish media reported he was living in Spain with a Ukrainian passport under an alternative name. Good job, media. Let's see. The Russian pilot who defected to Ukraine with an Mi-8 helicopter in August was found shot to death in Spain last week, according to media reports. A spokesperson for Ukraine's military intelligence confirmed the death of Shemp, but the Kiev Post but did not provide details. According to this outlet, Russian media reported Kuzmanov had been found dead with at least 5 bullet wounds in an underground parking lot in southern Spain.
Sounds like a suicide.
Well, I was about to say they call that a Clinton suicide.
Yep.
I'm sure it's going to be a drug deal gone wrong.
Yeah.
He was morally corrupt. Has nothing to do with anything else.
Doesn't have anything to do with pissing off the Russian premier.
Yeah, well, we can just I mean, sometimes plutonium, or I'm sorry, not plutonium, polonium just isn't fast enough, doesn't send a clear enough message, like 5 slugs of lead. Poor bastard. Sorry, dude.
AK-47 when it absolutely, positively has to be done.
Has to be there at 1,500 feet per second. Actually, I don't know if that's the correct muzzle velocity for an AK-47, so chat,
that's
don't...
approximately right.
I knew it would be approximately right.
1,300 feet.
But just don't gun nerd me, chat, please. Okay, let's see what's next.
Depends
okay.
on the load, and the
well,
round, all that stuff.
This next thing is easily one of my favorite stories of the week. Okay. Oh, that's the wrong one. That's the second one. Hold on a second. We can fix this. We can totally fix this.
So
here we go. Black and brown Minnesotans get worse sleep than white people. Researchers at the University of Minnesota say it's hurting their health. Because we all care deeply about health equity, right? So they did some studies. So over the last 2 decades, researchers and policymakers, blah, 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 blah. Sleep is absolutely a determinant of health. Sleep can be seen as a resource. So they went out and studied, I think it was like 4,000 different people. And they said the picture emerged from their research, a decade of research. Black and brown Americans are much more likely to sleep poorly than white Americans. And the darker a person's skin color is, the worse their sleep tends to be. Okay. The theory is that racial minorities experience a stress that is unique and chronic and additive to the general stressors that all people experience. Okay. Said Johnson, who was one of the first researchers to work on sleep disparities. We all experience stress, but there are added stressors for certain groups, for certain populations. Racism fits into the category. They're not assuming anything. This sounds like science, all totally nailed down, and this is the only possible explanation.
This is nothing but numbers and chemistry right here. This is pure physics almost.
Yeah. So they talk about structural racism, yada, yada, yada. This is just terrible. Okay, this is terrible. Noisier nights, whether from traffic or thin walls between apartments, hinder sleep. The sense of safety can also cause sleepless nights. The longer a foreign-born person lives in the U.S., the worse their sleep becomes, Johnson said. She suspects this phenomenon could stem from built-up stress of language barriers, for example, or worsening dietary habits. Absolutely shocking. I think I highlighted one thing down here because this is a long pile of BS. One example, in many Somali homes in the Twin Cities, smoke detectors with low batteries beep around the clock. Many believe the devices beep when they're working properly, Shemp said, or that it's the landlord's responsibility to fix them. Such misinformation could be corrected with a community-wide effort. How many things am I fucking responsible for? I mean, seriously, is it really my job to teach people of color how to sleep? I mean, really? So
now the ceiling bird is
that's
health.
That's how you know it's alive. The ceiling bird, when it stops chirping, then you know there's a problem.
Oh no!
If the sleeping bird stops chirping, it's an issue. So we have that
not a
thing.
mine canary.
Yeah, we have that thing, which is great because it's got the ceiling bird, which I love. And then we have this article, which came out basically at the same time. Do Black Americans get less sleep than white Americans? And they say basically a lot of the same sort of stuff. But then they go on to say, too much sleep. Black individuals were also more likely than other respondents to overly exceed the recommended amount of sleep, which research has defined as more than 9 hours per night. Sleeping too much is not a positive event. So the stress of being them is so great that it causes them to simultaneously undersleep and oversleep. More. Yeah.
Good God.
Are they saying they're more likely to suffer from depression, and that's why they oversleep?
Well, it says you can actually get increased risk of depression from oversleeping or chicken egg, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Both short and long-term sleep duration put individuals at increased risk of depression, reduced quality of life, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and health. I mean, all this stuff. Okay, Sora, you've heard people talk about sleep hygiene before.
Yes.
Right? That's what we're talking about. We're basically saying that there are people in the U.S. who have poor sleep hygiene, and they come in every shape and color. But they may find that there may be more people who could work on their sleep hygiene in this particular group. but the number of things that are assumed as the reason behind this seem pretty ridiculous, to me at least. You can think of other reasons why this might be true. There might be cultural differences. Maybe they're all staying up later, spending more time with their family, having a lovely time together. Maybe they just don't think going to sleep early is like part of their social ethic. Maybe it's because they're on BP time, right? I don't know. I honestly don't know.
My hypothesis is they didn't control for class or region.
They didn't control for anything.
They didn't control for anything.
I think you're on the
except for skin color.
Yeah,
that's all that mattered. So
skin color doesn't really tell you anything. You can't tie skin color to anything organically. You knew all the complicated dance that like 17 genes have to do to produce your skin color. It's not like there's a gene for being black and a gene for being white. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't make it a good way to class people for anything other than their skin color.
Yeah. This is a lot like those surveys where they say, oh, people who live near high tension power lines suffer health outcomes. Therefore, magnetic fields from these things and electric fields are obviously causing health problems.
Exactly.
No, that doesn't mean that at all. The cost of the real estate underneath those lines and around those lines is frequently less. So people who are disadvantaged and may have all sorts of other things going on, may end up living under those things. There may be all sorts of other factors. It's like the research that said that people who drink red wine, that it's like a superfood and it was really good for you to drink a lot of red wine. Right. No, it just means that more affluent people who get better health care and do a lot of other things that are positive may be coincident with the group that also drinks a lot of red wine. You have to factor these things out. You can't just half-ass the research. In this case, she's just pulling the explanations out of her ass. So, and I just love the whole explanation of the ceiling bird exists, and it's basically my fault for not helping them learn about the ceiling bird.
Right. It is your fault, Harry.
It is my
your
fault.
Personal fault.
No. This is the fault of the government. Should they not be having free programs out there at community centers, teaching people about this?
It's the fault of the white people in government. Let's put the blame where it belongs. It belongs on white people.
Yeah. The ceiling bird, you feed it these little pellets. The 9V pellets that they have. They're really good.
The 9V pellets. Yes.
It's kind of big.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Heated electrons.
So what have we learned here? We've learned that people of color simultaneously sleep too little and too much. And regardless, it's basically our fault for not doing something about it. I think this is one of those things like, if you have a friend, you might want to say, hey, by the way, you might want to consider one less dessert. I don't know. You give them like a little bit of healthy advice and then you step away and go, this is a you thing you need to figure out. The idea that somehow the rest of us are on the hook because a particular group just doesn't have good sleep hygiene. It's like, okay, this is just, it's a bit much. But Functional was right. They didn't control for all sorts of things.
Exactly. You hit it right on there.
There's no science here.
Just give them Ambien and or Lunesta because that totally won't scramble your brain when you're 70.
Yeah, Ambien's good for you.
Oh God! I told you about the time my grandmother was all tanked up on Lunesta and called me at like 3 something in the morning with this talking like she was a little girl asking if I would buy her a puppy.
Yep.
And of course she had no memory of this. It's like I was like, yeah, I don't think this is a good medication for you, but what are you gonna do? Oh, let's see. Where does this go? Let's see. I guess we could do a palate cleanser, right? We're an hour in mostly.
Oh, sure.
We could do a palate
Excuse
cleanser.
me. Jill put one in Discord if you wanted to.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure you have some.
I have some. Oh, speaking of, there's a comedian. Are you guys familiar with Ryan Long? He does a lot of sarcastic things.
Yes.
Okay, he did this, which is basically Ryan Long, McDonald's vows to focus on fat pores. I'm just going to play a little of this.
And in order to remedy the situation, they've released a controversially worded statement explaining their plan to focus on lower-income customers. We at McDonald's now realize that the core of our business is fat poors. We
I just need a moment. Okay.
thought the $18 Big Mac would be a
it's
good way
pretty
to combat
fucking funny.
inflation by focusing on the drunken mess demographic who is less concerned with price. But in doing so, we have lost the fat poors. Fat poors have always been at the heart of McDonald's profitability and make up a much larger part of the McDonald's revenue than the drunken mess demographic.
Yeah, I'm just gonna put the link in the chat for everybody to enjoy. I mean, if you don't subscribe to Ryan's channel, you're missing out. You really
he's
are.
Fun. He's fun.
Well, thanks,
had not
Assassin,
seen
for
this.
linking the show. I appreciate
He
it.
is, but I hate to burst people's bubble, but I mean, this is almost a complete ripoff of a George Carlin skit that he did. And
Let's call it
a
an
lot of his
homage.
comedy is,
Yeah.
you call it what you will. It's
Mhm.
it's not entirely or even close to being original.
Mhm.
A lot of the stuff that I've seen that people are like, this is hilarious. And I'm like, yeah, but
Are you calling George Carlin a comedy pioneer?
some things he wasn't entirely original, like no comedians really are, but I mean, they're not so much a pioneer, but like comedians from my time I can see, and the homage, the repetition, the rhyming of modern comedians is it's kind of undeniable. But I mean, yeah, it's funny, but I
Mhm.
liked Carlin's bit on McDonald's for, what did he say? The dollar menu isn't really that good of a deal when you consider the cost of bypass surgery or something. Like, I mean, like, okay, yeah, it's not like word for word fat poors, but like, you know,
It's getting real.
he's got a market. What is he up to?
678,000 subscribers.
Yeah, like, I mean, he's killing it.
Oh, by the way, I completely forgot. In one of those articles with the sleep thing, they actually talked about sleep deserts. You know, like zones where it's hard to get a good night's sleep.
Like a food desert?
Like
Yeah.
the North Pole.
Yeah, like that.
Oh my.
Okay, we need another palate cleanser. Let's see. We have
Okay.
so many of them.
For the palate
We have
cleanser.
so many of them.
I'm sorry, guys. I just
Okay, Sora,
Yes.
you are gonna love this. You're gonna love this so much. Over 100 never before seen rare species discovered along
Yes,
deep sea
Pete.
mountain range. Look at it. It's like an Elmo fish. A Chanot, a genus of bony fish in the sea toad family, is seen at a depth of 1,388 meters
That is
on a
fucked
seamount.
up fish.
What in the
Look.
hell is that?
That is a mess.
wait.
fish.
Sorry. What depth? What depth?
What?
You said at what depth range? 1,800 miles.
Let's see. It's basically, where did it go? It was basically
Oh, no,
1.4 kilometers.
Oh, okay. So it's not deep. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Look at that.
And
Elmo
where's
fish.
This, where's this range?
Uh,
Does it say?
Chile.
Chile. Okay.
Basically runs from Chile to Easter Island. Yeah.
Right.
But I knew that Sora would like
at
this
him.
picture of this fish.
No, that's a fantastic.
That
photo.
fish is something's wrong with that. That boy is just not right.
Ah, boy,
Boy,
ain't right.
boy wired right.
Yeah.
tell you
I mean, there's a bunch of other fish, but nothing. What the hell is that?
Oh,
Shut up, music. Oh, this is a bunch of people showing off. Now,
There it is.
stupid fish. Let's go back to this one. This is the one that Sora wants to see right there. Okay.
yeah.
What
All
are
right.
our tastes?
Okay, how about a troublesome
Called the
seagull,
bony
Skep?
fish, probably crunchy.
Yes.
Okay, let's see. I added a checkbox on the spreadsheet so I can actually see which
When-
things we've
So
talked
happy.
about.
When I-
Look at that
When I
face.
was in the Navy, by the way, seagulls were referred to as shitbirds because all they do is eat and shit.
Yep.
And that
Call
was
them here,
also the slang for a sailor who was worthless. If a guy was worthless, they'd say, "Oh no, that guy's
Call
a
them a
shit."
shitbird.
Well, here's a
Or
seagull
railbird.
at Pebble Beach, trying to be helpful.
The bunker and no way to go at the green, just trying to get it.
Yeah, so get out of the bunker, and then just the seagull's kind of like, Nope.
Oh,
eat
eat the
this.
babies, young.
No. he's actually pushing him in the right direction.
Yeah, he's trying to hatch it.
Oh, look at him. Look at his little friend.
Do, do,
Yeah,
do,
you get
do,
that.
do, do, do.
This is
pro
all
golf.
no
This is
penalty.
awesome.
This is all no penalty.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no
Golfers,
penalty. This
by
is
the
just
way.
what happens on the course. What happens?
Yeah,
They
this
call it active nature, right?
If it lands on
Right,
the
well,
course,
yeah.
it stays on the course.
it's referred to as
Yep.
the rub of the green,
Oh,
and it's just one of those lucky things that happens.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that player paid off that seagull. It's an inside job.
yeah. It's trained seagull.
I love the
I think-
seagull. It just picks up the ball.
I think basically, for all intents and purposes, just everything but like intentional human act is basically play it where it lies afterward.
By the way, do you know what my greens fees were the last time I played Pebble Beach? They were $35.
It's reasonable for what it is, though.
1978.
I mean, that's a lot of money, but it's a world famous course. It costs money. Otherwise,
Yeah.
there wouldn't be any way to play. If you priced it too cheaply, it would just not be good for anybody.
That was a lot of money back in.
Well, you could play the bayonet course. You had options. So essentially, going to
I
Pebble
used
was
to
a
play
special treat
Bayonet.
for you.
I played bayonet every single Sunday. I think that I was
That's a
for a whole
really,
year.
really nice course. You were not suffering. You had
No,
very
no.
cheap access to another world class course. It just isn't as famous as
not
Pebble.
only yeah, exactly, and it's PGA rated and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And but when there were too many guys on bayonet, we would just go over and play Black Horse, which
Exactly.
is the other side of bayonet.
Yeah.
You know, it's not quite as long.
There's two excellent world class courses back to back.
Right. Yeah.
And if you really just want to knock out a quick 9 holes, you can go play PG. It's like the
Right.
place
Yeah,
where you
yeah.
worked had a perfectly passable course if you just wanted to, like, play a half
Almost like
game.
almost
just-
like a par 3 course. It was a real short course.
Or just fire up
That was
the old
where I had my
Nintendo.
lowest golf score of all time was on that course, Harry.
It's not a difficult course, but it's very pretty and the weather is very
I
nice.
shot a fucking 84 there. Man.
All right. Well, let's complain about Oakland.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oakland Uptown restaurant burglarized 3 times in 3 weeks. How on earth can you run a business in these kinds of circumstances? 3 times in 3 weeks, the same restaurant has been burglarized. I mean, there's not really much that needs to be said, but I'm just pointing out that things are not improving in Oakland. At least, because they've been throwing money and resources and people at it. They've had the CHP coming in occasionally helping out the local police. And they've also sent in some prosecutors from other places because the prosecutor for Alameda County is, she's no bueno. So maybe that helped a little bit too to get some prosecutors in there that weren't under the thumb of the Soros appointee. But yeah, Oakland is still terrible.
That
Now,
breaks my heart.
The thing I can't understand is there was a shooting at an Indianapolis Waffle House. 1 killed, 5 injured. There are a few states that I could be in where I'd be less likely to want to attack and hurt somebody than when I'm eating waffles. What is it about? Because I don't get it. What is it about Waffle House that seems to bring out the violence in people? Because for me, it would do the opposite.
I can tell you precisely. What
Yes, please.
Okay, and I said this is a recovering alcoholic. What happens is people go out, they get drunk, they go through the excitement and kind of the sailing phase of being drunk, and then they go down on, they start to lose the high. The euphoria is long gone, and they're starting to feel crappy, and they think they'll feel better if they eat some, what we used to call hangover food, which is,
Lots of fat, lots of sugar.
Waffle House, lots of fat, lots of sugar, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what Waffle House is. And those people congregate at places like that. And when that happens, you have defective behavioral transactions between groups of people and between individuals, and violence is inevitable.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been unhappy when I've been eating waffles.
No, I've never been unhappy at a Waffle House.
Well, I mean, I know I've told the story before, so I promise I haven't been taking a lot of Lunesta and forgotten everything. But you know, there was a place in Carmel that I used to go to, and you could just show up with a group of friends at 11 p.m. and they would make a house for you out of waffles and ice cream, and you would just everybody gets a spoon and you dig in. I love waffles. Waffles to me are like a symbol of peace and brotherhood and love.
Yes.
Not violence and
that
death.
God wants us to be happy.
Yeah. It's like if you are in a house, if you're in a place eating waffles,
You are happy.
you should be happy. You shouldn't be homicidal.
Exactly.
I clearly don't get it, but whatever. Okay.
It doesn't say homicide house, guys.
It doesn't.
Well, at least we know they weren't white. Otherwise, they would have said that in the
Oh, they definitely would
the
have
headline
said,
or the byline or both.
Yes.
probable MAGA supporter.
Oh,
Right.
that scene. I, as you guys know, I watch Bill Maher. Watching that scene as it's playing out on TV, my jaw just went agape, and I was like, "Oh my god, people are gonna feast on this!" And sure enough,
Yep. So Salt Bay's London restaurant, which charges $850 for steak, cut heating during peak hours to save money. Not only has he cut back on the heat that he's putting into his expensive restaurant, but they've actually removed some of the swankier items from the menu recently. That just feels like you're not getting good value for your $13,000 gold-covered steak if you're actually going to be having to put your sweater on at the table. I just find this guy to be I find this guy to be just completely odious. So he's the opposite of waffles. He just enrages me by his general appearance, and everything he does makes me angry.
it's pure pretense in theater. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all flash with no substance.
I mean, you can go. There are some fantastic steakhouses in this world, right?
It's not hard. It's not hard to cook a great steak. It isn't hard. It's not hard.
So Skep, you live in the land of world class brisket, right? You take a humble
Yes.
piece of meat, you make it something amazing.
Make it something.
And
beyond
I have always looked down on tri-tip, and I know that it's like
Right.
the California barbecue tri-tip.
Yep.
If you want something that's sort of California style, you get tri-tip that's vaguely Mexican that's cooked over wood, or you get chicken.
Yep. So, like the round steak.
I was actually passing by the town of Spreckles, California, and I stopped in at a place, and I didn't want to go there because all they had was tri-tip and chicken, but I was hungry. And I tried it, and what I didn't realize is that they had USDA prime tri-tip, and they actually knew how to cook it and slice it. And then they had like this amazing barbecue chicken
That's actually
stuff.
a very tasty piece of meat.
It can be. It can be. Or it can be like a completely unchewable thing if you use low quality meat and you slice it wrong.
Unchewable and boring.
Yeah, I had one of the best, easily the best tri-tip sandwich I've ever had. I'm going to have to reassess, and maybe California barbecue isn't all terrible.
You got to slice it correctly against the grain
And thinly.
very thin.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It's
This
the
stuff
London broil principle.
just pulled apart, because it
Yes,
was
that's
prime
what's
prime
most-
grade, cooked right. Sorry,
That's
anyway,
what
nobody
it's
cares
supposed-
about Harry's
I do.
lunch from
I
a while
like
ago.
this.
But I can tell
No.
you this was an amazing sandwich, and cheap.
I like talking beef.
And cheap too. God, cheap and good. You don't get that very often. All right, Salt Bay is a douchebag.
Well, you have to go away from the franchises and the chain stores and find those little mom and pop diners or hole in the walls. You'll get good food cheap most of the time.
Let's see.
Especially across the country, like outside of the cities, just traveling around the states. Like I found some great places just in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, you're not wrong,
Cheap, good
Assassin. Van Jones is pretty damn terrible. He's just kind of a waste of oxygen.
Yeah.
And it's
Let's
too bad because he's a nice guy.
let's look at this here. This is basically filed under things nobody asked for. So Sora, you're familiar with Peanuts, Charlie Brown, Snoopy.
Sure.
Is there any character in the Peanuts universe that you think has really been overlooked that needs to have like their own vehicle made?
Pigpen.
You think Pigpen? Okay, well you're not going to
I
get
love
Pigpen.
Me too, Sora.
You're going to
Good
get
on you.
Franklin. Franklin from Peanuts is going to shine in a spotlight of a new animated special.
Wait, isn't
God, I wonder why they
Oh,
picked Franklin.
it's
Why?
Token.
Why
Okay.
did they pick Franklin?
Didn't even know he had a name.
It's in honor of me. That's actually my Christian name. Is Frank.
Yeah, Franklin. I mean,
That's so funny to see that. It looks like.
Okay, it's fine, but why? Was there were people really clamoring
Make your own story.
for a Franklin story?
The only real Franklin.
Franklin was the DEI hire.
No, Franklin was just one of their friends. He was fine.
Exactly. He was fine, but he was basically a prop. He was sort of an NPC.
Yeah, I mean,
they should make like or some. What about Pepper Ann or whatever her name is?
Peppermint Patty and
Yeah,
Marcy.
Patty.
Peppermint Patty played
Yeah.
softball, so we all know where that's
Right.
going.
Yep.
Which
It's nice
is
vest,
why
Patty.
I think it would make an excellent, a fun movie. There you
Right.
go.
Yeah.
But nothing has to be important. It all has to be. It has to be hidden, and you're expecting this big thing by the end. But joke's on you.
Oh, see, I do have a relevant. Well, it's sort of like a palate cleanser. It's like, hey, if I felt like being a little too edgy at some point, I can just do this. Apropos of nothing that we just talked about. Presented without comment. All right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, you know
gonna-
it's true.
Just gonna keep the comment that I have to myself.
Just file that away.
Just gonna not even call that one out.
So, I see clips for this thing all the time. Now, this isn't an act. I honestly don't know. Is this stuff actually real? Like this sort of child custody support court thing that comes on? Is this actually like a real thing, or is it just actors pretending to be terrible? I assume this is just a
Okay,
put on, right?
Yeah, what has actually happened is that they have signed they are appearing before an arbitrator. They have signed a contract saying that they will abide.
So it's
by
binding
the
arbitration that they
decision,
submit to.
right,
Okay.
that they
not a real
submitted to. Exactly to. So and then the rest is just window dressing.
So it's kind of real in the sense that although she's not really a judge, she's functioning as an arbiter.
She
plays a
going to make
judge on
judgment in
TV.
this case.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So it's more real than it could be. These aren't just actors, and this isn't just
No.
playtime.
No, this is for real.
Oh, okay.
But
And
there is a big shine job going on.
Yeah. That functional said. You get there's a lot of razzmatazz. Very much.
Okay.
It
Nice.
is a little entertaining every once in a while. You're just, they put one of these clips like lazy dad wants child support. So just, it catches eyeballs. People make some dough off of it. It's somewhat entertaining every once in a while.
Yeah. So, Skep, how would you feel about a 200 terabyte optical drive?
Oh yes. Thank
Wait,
you.
what?
Well, they're working
I'll
on
take
this. This
5.
is a
I've always
research
wanted
thing.
to
This
have
is
a
not.
petabyte of data.
You can't just go out to Fry's and buy this because Fry's doesn't exist anymore.
I want one.
Yeah, 200 terabytes of data with
Damn.
long-term optical storage.
What's the mean time to failure?
We're not there yet, man. This much denser physical storage format makes use of 100 layers. So forget
Yeah,
that dual
baby.
layer. That dual layer stuff is for posers. We're talking 100 layers,
That's what I'm talking
which is
about.
said to result in a maximum data capacity of 1.6 petabits, or roughly 200 terabytes of storage.
Holy shit.
I mean, who cares if it's slow? There's a need for stuff like this. It's stable.
Finally save all my
Yeah.
photos.
Yeah.
Your photos, I could my everything.
This is a spinner,
Like everything.
right?
I can take
This is
pictures
this
of all
is
the
spinner.
food.
This spins, yeah. And you would obviously basically it's like a dual layer DVD or a dual layer
Yeah.
Blu-ray, and you're just expanding that technology. And since we have better control of lasers, you just add more layers.
get
Just rack them and stack them,
Right. Yeah.
and
Yeah,
before you know it, you've got 200 petabits.
Take my money, please.
I'm sorry, 200 terabytes.
I want one of
But
these.
you'll-
I could fit everything that is stored currently on my externals, all my media, my movies and television. I've got literally probably about 100 terabytes worth of just movies and TV alone, not including pictures and all this other crap that I've done. Oh my God, please take my money. Get this shit off my computer and let me put it in storage again.
So when they create builds for software, anything that gets sent to a customer, if you're talking like Cisco or any big company, you really don't ever get rid of that. You have to save that. Not only do you save that, but you save all of the artifacts from the build process, any of the test artifacts, all that stuff gets bundled up and saved. So you have the source code, you have all the intermediate files, all of it. And that kind of stuff doesn't seem like it's a big deal, but oh my God, that stuff scales over time. So a 200 terabyte optical drive is like, that's about what we need. This isn't excessive by any means. That's like, yes, please and thank you. That's exactly what we need.
Yep.
Never throw anything away ever.
No, I've still got like 6 boxes full of old DVDs and CDs and
Yeah, I remember when I was working on a project and CD media had gone, CDR media had gone way up in price. I was paying $10 a blank for this stuff, and happy to find it because it was in such short supply. I'd have to like drive around and try to find some. Anyway,
what year was that roughly?
I can tell you not roughly. It was 1996.
Okay. Oh, I was off.
96, I believe.
Yeah.
I like how the top there, popular Helldivers, the recommended article.
Yeah.
Helldivers.
I hear that's a really good game.
I was going to guess 1995.
But we had another...
I remember those times.
We had another space probe. This time it was the commercial probe that landed on the moon. Unfortunately, it didn't land on its head, but it did land on its side. It was all going so well, and then at the last minute, it kind of went boop, and then landed over. And its little head is resting against a rock or something, kind of like it's an MRE. And
which means that it didn't tip all the way over.
Well, the good news is that
it's got a little bit of a signal.
The important stuff, the science experiments, all of the stuff that's really important is on the exposed side. And the solar panels are functioning and the communications are working, going back to Earth. So all of the things that actually matter were not affected by this. However, there was a static art installation on the side that's now facing down on the moon. It's some.
What was that?
It was stuff by artist Jeff Koons. And for some reason, they put some Jeff Koons art on the side of the thing, and then the lander, probably because it was ashamed, decided, I'm just going to lay down over here where no one can see this.
Yeah, I don't want anybody to look.
I think the lander knew what it was doing.
This side down.
This.
Yeah, you're not the boss
lie
of
down
me.
on my back.
So the static art installation is the only thing that was affected. Aw.
Aw. They said that, yeah.
So here's your picture. That's why the moon doesn't look quite right, because it's lying on its side. Yep. But hey, it's still a soft landing, right?
Do you know what the art installation was called?
I don't.
Love is in our genes. What a bundle of sticks.
Jeff Koons, God. God, I hate bad pop art. I really do.
I fucking hate it.
Yeah.
And this is coming as somebody who's an artist. Like, oh, we've lost the plot. We've fucking lost the plot as a fucking race. And I'm not going to go off on it.
Okay, how about this? SpaceX may launch biodegradable wooden satellites made of magnolia wood to combat ozone layer damage. Now, before we all titter about how funny this is, it turns out that about 10% of the particulate crap in the ionosphere right now, or up in the ozone layer, is actually aluminum and metal particles from re-entering satellites. And 10% is a lot. And they're saying with all of the communication satellites and other stuff that's being put up into orbit, if we don't do something, it'll be 50% at some point. And maybe that's not a great place to start messing around with the chemistry of our atmosphere. So they're looking at some options, and sure enough, biodegradable wooden satellites made of magnolia wood are one of the things that they're sort of testing. It's not going to be up there that long, so of course you do what you do. You put different pieces of wood treated different ways in a frame, and you send it up into space and see how it behaves. And this,
Isn't there like friction and heat that happens?
well, on the way in, and then you're just
On the
making
way in.
barbecue. You just strap a tri-tip to the side of that satellite, and so good.
Smoked, like good
Space
smoked
barbecue.
liver.
Yeah. So I think this is actually not the worst thing I've ever heard. Satellites are causing a problem on reentry. You don't have to make them out of aluminum. If you've got some kind of wood that is sturdy enough to withstand the stresses and is light enough and meets the performance characteristics, why not just not make it out of aluminum? This seems fine.
Yeah, yeah. Just the idea that it seems a little unlikely that wood would meet any ruggedization requirement. I think it's being chosen because it's so destructible.
Yeah.
Well, because of how light satellites have to be, they're not typically all that reinforced anyway. So if you can find a wood, especially when you treat wood with certain types of resins, you can harden them up quite a bit. So I could see this as being maybe a viable thing, even if the frame of the satellite.
Those resins, you're almost making a kind of ceramic, is what you end up
Well, but
with.
the frame could still be metal. If you replace 90% of it with wood, like for the big flat areas, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, if they can pull it off, fine. I mean, they're doing the research.
I'm fascinated to hear about this. I had not heard about this before tonight.
Me too, but I have a problem with the logistics. All the ideas are floating in my head, but like it's odd. I want to see what they do with it because why not? Why not wood? If it works, it works.
Well, this is LignoSat, wooden artificial satellite.
I don't understand why we have to try to reinvent the satellite here and move away from materials that are working. Like aluminum is working. It when they lose orbit, they will burn up in the atmosphere. Like you couldn't make something out of wood large enough to compare with an aluminum satellite that it wouldn't burn up all the way on reentry. Like just there's a lot of questions here. We don't have the answers for.
Or maybe they could make them so that the
I think it's a PR stunt.
things could be
melting
recovered.
point- yeah, the melting point of aluminum isn't that much higher than the flash point of wood.
But the difference is if wood will freeze in the vacuum of space, the aluminum will as well. But the brittle the flash point of the brittleness would be much where am I
Actually,
going? Lower, higher than
I
on
actually
wood.
think that wood is not a great absorber of heat, but hot wood will radiate very slowly in space because most of the energy will have to leave it via radiant energy. And that will leave
Well,
very
that's why we
slowly.
used aluminum because I mean it basically can just
Yeah, it's
exist and not
aluminum is a great conductor,
be affected
great
by hot or
absorber,
cold.
great absorber, great radiator.
Assassin's
exactly.
bringing up the de Havilland Mosquito. God, what an airplane!
Yeah, it was.
That was a ballsy design. That was really a ballsy design. It's like, let's make a plane out of wood so that it's super light and put an enormous honking engine in it. We will make this thing so fast that it doesn't need armor.
Right, exactly.
The de Havilland Mosquito is a great little bit of military history or aviation history. It's a great
Shoot
story,
and
but I don't
leave.
have anything together for that. So
Shoot and leave.
yeah, eat shoots and leaves. Let's see, where were we? Okay, so we've got wooden satellites. So satellites don't have to burn up in the atmosphere. So private Varda space capsule returns to Earth with space-grown antiviral drug aboard. Let that sink in for a moment. What Varda
Space-grown
What
antiviral
Varda
drug.
Space is doing is they're actually rather than just producing tiny amounts of stuff at the ISS because because we can, right? That's not a real commercial thing. What they're working on doing is actually doing high value payloads by putting them up in space, doing the manufacturing, and then actually doing a controlled reentry and recapture of the entire experiment, the entire apparatus. And in this case, they were growing the crystalline structure of an antiviral drug in low G. And that's what this did. It was up in orbit for nearly 8 months, came back down, and they recovered it. And then they have a product inside. Obviously, there's some work to do before this becomes like a commonplace thing. But with SpaceX and a lot of the prices that are available for putting stuff into orbit, you can do stuff like this.
What is the value add? That must be a requirement for synthesis.
Yeah, there are some things that it's almost impossible to synthesize them on Earth.
Yeah. In gravity.
Yeah, so it has to be a high value thing. You're not going to be growing black-eyed peas in that pod. That's for damn sure.
Not unless they cure cancer.
Yeah.
A template or a substrate or something like that.
Well, in this case, they were growing crystals, and that just
sounds. I was going to say, sounds like a crystalline substrate. Those words were on my lips. Yep.
So a capsule from Varda Space Industries' W1 mission landed in northern Utah this afternoon, bringing down to Earth crystals of an antiviral drug that were grown in orbit.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Processing materials in microgravity or the near weightless conditions found in space offers a unique environment not available through terrestrial processing, Varda's website states. These benefits primarily stem from the lack of convection and sedimentation forces, as well as the ability to form more perfect structures due to the absence of gravitational stresses. Well, you just turn on the anti-gravity plates, and then you can do it on Earth, right? Easy.
We've got to.
Whatever you say, Mr. Spock.
We have got to conquer gravity.
Yeah, we need to make it our bitch. Make it do what we want.
I want flying cars.
Good times. Well, anyway, I thought that was a good space thing.
Like that makeup applicator cool thing from Fifth Element, right? I don't need the plague from the 12 Monkeys. You know, like there's
wait.
There's certain movies that we want.
Which makeup applicator thing from Fifth Element? I've seen that movie a bunch of times, and I don't remember what you're talking about.
When she's with Father Cornelius, right? And she's trying all sorts of clothes and stuff. There is a Chanel branded thing that case that she puts over her eyes, and when she presses the button, she's immediately having really nice makeup.
You know how many times I have seen this thing, and I never took notice of that one scene. That's it. It must be very different being you versus being me.
It's like ever since I was little, I was like, "Ooh, that would be nice."
Like good old Lilu Dallas multipass.
Also, so that's one, and then the second thing I would like also from Fifth Element is the nail polish changer.
Again, I don't remember.
She's sitting at her desk, and
did we see the same movie? I don't remember any of this.
You need to see the movie again and pay attention to the.
I was paying attention. I just didn't make any notice of anything involving cosmetics. Okay, I clearly have to go back and rewatch this. That's hilarious. Okay.
Anyway, that's the future I was expecting.
Okay.
Remember Homer Simpson's makeup shotgun? Because that's our reality right now.
Nice.
We don't have that picture perfect. What is it? The Disney viewfinder makeup thing. We have Homer Simpson's fucking makeup shotgun in reality. That's what life is right now. Still one of the greatest times to ever be alive. Shit.
Well, okay. This next thing, again, this is not fake confusion on my part. It genuinely gives me pause. Yeah, totally. So many questions about this next article. U.S. agents fooled a Yakuza boss into giving them weapons-grade plutonium he thought would be sold to Iran. So
joke's on you.
So many questions. How is it that the Yakuza boss came into possession of said material?
Yeah.
How is it that
how much more does he have?
U.S. agents found out that he was trying to sell it to the Iranians? Why was he trying to sell it to the Iranians? How did they convince him that they were the Iranians? This seems like it should be a movie.
Yeah. Or may have already been a movie.
Okay. U.S. agents say they tricked a Japanese crime lord into handing over nuclear fuel handing nuclear fuel to them in an audacious sting operation. The claim was made in court documents unsealed Wednesday that described the effort to catch Takeshi Ebisawa. In a press release, I'm not going to mispronounce the name of a crime boss, sorry. In a press release, U.S. prosecutors described Ebisawa as a leading figure among Japanese gangsters, also known as Yakuza. They said that the Drug Enforcement Administration fooled Ebisawa into believing that he was selling them a shipment of plutonium and uranium to help Iran build nuclear weapons. I think somebody's holding a grudge. I'm just going to throw that out there.
So many people are going to be committing seppuku.
Yeah.
I was just thinking. Like,
So many people are going to die. because of
dishonor
this.
on everyone.
Yeah, Ebisawa was first charged with trafficking weapons and drugs, but on Wednesday, a superseding indictment included the nuclear trafficking allegations. Prosecutors say that the indictment against Ebisawa, that the 60-year-old acquired uranium and weapons-grade plutonium in Myanmar, which is in the midst of a civil war. Again, how in the hell did this stuff end up in Myanmar? Okay.
Seriously.
After years of discussion, he delivered it to an undercover DEA agent in a neighborhood in neighboring Thailand who was posing as a weapons trafficker, the documents say.
Listen, let me tell you, this is coming from Soviet stocks. I almost guarantee you.
All that stuff
some
got
of-
sold off, yeah.
Yeah, that exactly. Some of this stuff got sold off. Also, there's stuff that the Soviet Union is counting as, hey, this is stuff we know is good, and that stuff was robbed and sold long ago, and there's just the shell of a missile there. A certain percentage of their nuclear armament is that way, unfortunately, and nobody knows where those warheads are.
Yeah. Fire torpedo,
probably-
and then it just kind of goes fizzle, fizzle, fizzle. What? No torpedo
Exactly.
juice? No juice in torpedo?
Or no warhead, basically.
Yeah. So
Probably got there from Victor Bout, too.
So it says here, after years of discussion, he delivered it to the undercover DEA agent. Prosecutors cited calls and text messages over the course of 2 years. So this was basically a long con that they pulled on this guy. He appeared to find a buyer when the DEA agent said he could sell the nuclear fuel to a general in Iran who intended to build a nuclear weapon. So not only was he selling this stuff, but he was selling it to those people. Yeah. He went on to suggest he could also supply plutonium, which would be even better and build a more powerful bomb, the documents said. Yeah. Good times. Good times. Let's see. In exchange, he asked for a list of weapons, including sniper rifles and surface-to-air missiles, the indictment says, included a WhatsApp screenshot of the weapons he wanted. Oh, just a few things. 5,000 AK-47s with 1 million rounds of ammo.
Yeah,
25,000 magazine clips.
You could outfit it in a small army.
5,000 M16s, 20 M60s, 35,000 tracer rounds, 35,000 regular rounds, 35,000 armor piercing. Let's see, mortars, 60 millimeter rockets, 80 millimeter, 105 millimeter. Yeah, this is
walk into Angola with this kind of armament, you can rule it.
Yeah.
Angola.
This is a nice country here. It'd be a shame. Oh, portable SAM, 20 units, reloadable if yes, then additional rockets, 100 pieces.
That's what I'm talking.
It's good to have goals.
Trading a bunch of Russian nuclear material for American-made weapons.
My God.
Well, I know.
Kind of genius if you think about it.
I know Functional loves the Webb telescope. I mean, who doesn't, right? So out beyond not a planet Pluto, there are actually some other things that are even further away, and in some cases larger. Eris is actually bigger than Pluto. And this other one called, which I guess is pronounced Make, that's what people call it, is another one that they had Webb take a look at. And what's interesting
Call
about
him
these
John.
is what's on the surface of these planets. The methane ice that's on the surface of these planets is not what they expected. It looks like it's fresh, which implies that there is still some sort of geologic activity happening on these bodies, even though they are cold and distant and way out there, because there's not a lot of gravity to perturb
Kinda like
them
my
to
first
generate
wife.
heat. There's not enough sun to cause anything to really happen, but still they would expect some sort of organic compounds to be made from the radiation that hit them over time. So the only thing they can surmise, they also used Webb is so sensitive that it can see the difference in the isotopic makeup of the chemicals. So by looking at the ratios of carbon-13 and carbon-14 and deuterium and hydrogen, through a mechanism that I'm not going to try to explain because I don't fully understand it myself, they were able to surmise that this ice, because it's A, uncomplicated, and B, has this isotopic makeup, is new ice that's been created, which means that there's some sort of process that's causing an upwelling on these planets. So Eris actually has a rocky core and may still have nuclear decay happening. So it's not a dead ice ball that's just floating out there. It's actually alive in some sense. There's like interesting stuff going on. And these things are so freaking far away that it would take decades to send a space probe to them. But Webb can actually analyze to within, a gnat's whisker, the chemical composition of what's on top of these things. What an amazing piece of equipment Webb is. It's just doing fantastic things.
One of the greatest investments NASA has ever made, or humanity has ever made, is the Webb telescope. It's so freaking cool.
That's pretty damn awesome that we can do that. Because who would have thought that such a thing was even possible? I sure never thought it was going to happen.
No.
So here's a new app for your phone.
Sorry, before we get
go
to
ahead.
that, it's basically, for all intents and purposes, something completely, again, out of Star Trek. It's a sensor. It's what ships use to detect when they're flying around the galaxy, exploring strange new worlds or whatever. That's kind of the technology. And once we get it to a point where we can shrink it down and, use other applications, who knows? A medical tricorder might be able to, they've already kind of been developing those kinds of smaller sensors, but they're nothing akin to the technology that the Webb uses. That is even still, now that it's been in space for a couple of years, it's still cutting edge. Oh my God.
I mean, some of the medical stuff is pretty amazing. Positron emission tomography. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Here's a nice magnetic field. It's a Gauss.
Right.
Enjoy. Okay, so speaking of enjoy, new app always points to the supermassive black hole at the center of our galaxy. So you can load this. You can load this on your phone, and wherever you go, if you want to know where this supermassive black hole is at the center of our galaxy, this app will tell you.
So depressing.
You got to keep an eye on it.
I could like that though. There's something so simple and
It's the drain. It's the drain we're circling.
Yeah.
It's the hub of the giant bicycle wheel is what it is. It isn't a drain. It's really the anchor.
Yeah.
Yeah, the anchor doesn't sink the ship. The anchor stops the ship from moving. That's what the black hole does. So the sun will run out of hydrogen fuel and helium fuel and explode long before we have to worry about the black hole in the center of the galaxy. But if you want to keep an eye on it, because, you shouldn't really trust black holes, you can just load this app on your phone and it'll tell you where it is no matter where you go. You can go, there it is.
I just loaded it up on my phone. Why is it pointing to Georgia?
It is the most significant attractive force in our area, in our galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, by far.
That's not Taylor Swift.
Exactly.
She's purdy. No. I think she should do a mayonnaise endorsement.
A mayonnaise endorsement?
Yeah. Oh, how many different... Okay, isn't there really only one major brand of mayonnaise at this point? Best Foods / Hellman's. I mean, are there...
Yeah.
Are there any others that matter?
Hellman's is the definitive mayonnaise. Okay, but if you don't want to insist on true mayonnaise and that true mayonnaise texture and taste, then you can settle for Miracle Whip, which is technically salad dressing.
That's a spread. That's not mayonnaise.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It is not mayonnaise. I'm making that distinction. And it's not as good as mayonnaise either. It's good for some things, but it's not good usually as a substitute on a sandwich.
There is a brand of mayonnaise you can get off of Amazon, or maybe it's at your local market, called Duke's. And it's actually, for mass market stuff, actually pretty good. Duke's mayonnaise is pretty decent.
And no, Assassin, sorry, I bad jokes, when you have to explain them, that just signifies that they're bad. Georgia, Stacey Abrams, it's my Stacey Abrams joke of the week.
And it points specifically at the space between her teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's
That's
is she
what
the
supermassive
shadow
black
governor?
hole.
She's the shadow governor.
She's the shadow president
Earth.
of Earth.
Earth.
Oh, that's what it is. That of Earth.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's right.
Well, she was in STD and came on and did a cameo as the president of Earth.
She gets some penicillin.
Yeah. Good times.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, here's a fun app. If you want to know where the supermassive black hole is, you can just load that on your phone. Because, I mean, who wouldn't want to know that?
That's it.
I wouldn't. It would make me feel too small and insignificant, and I already feel small and insignificant in the shadow of the galaxy.
Oh, speaking of that, so a new NASA mission will study ultraviolet sky, stars, stellar explosions.
Oh, yay.
So we've got all these different kinds of telescopes, right? We've got X-ray telescopes. We've got Webb, which does near-infrared through mid-infrared. We've got Hubble, which does optical. But to get the full picture of everything that's going on, you also need ultraviolet.
Sure.
So, because the great thing was you added Webb and you were able to suddenly do spectroscopy in frequencies that revealed things that you couldn't do with Hubble, right? Hubble barely touches into the near infrared.
Right.
So the more tools you have looking at the sky in more different wavelengths, the more science you can actually do. And the more you can check your findings against each other by looking at them with different tools. So they're looking at launching around 2030 a new space telescope. This one will focus on ultraviolet.
Cool.
Yeah. And honestly, it's kind of a cheap date at $300 million compared to Webb, which was one of the most expensive, complicated things humans has ever built.
And you mentioned comparing them against other things. Like, I mean, the stuff that we've already compared from Hubble to the newer images and the more detailed and broader scope of imagery that we captured on some of the stuff that we've taken with Hubble has just been incredible. Some of the stuff we've extrapolated from the more broader scope of pictures, it's, oh my God, it's literally changing certain aspects of astrophysics that we never even thought possible. It's so crazy. It's actually so crazy. It's kind of been exploding my brain a bit because like with my layman's understanding of a lot of this, or above layman's understanding of some of this stuff, it's just like I read it and I'm just like I have no idea what this means, but holy shit.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Like some of the galaxies that just the other week we showed some of the images, but some of the, I was reading up some of the follow-up studies on some of the new hypotheses, some of the formations of some of these galaxies, and one that we had of a capture of like 200 billion years ago of a dying star, like not one that collapsed, but one that exploded and went supernova. Like we have, it just and it's so gorgeous. Like, I know I said that the app kind of filled me with a little sense of dread and insignificance, but when I look at the actual pictures of what we're observing these days, it's just like, it fills me with such wonderment and amazement of, wow.
Sorry, Sora. I apologize. I'm terrible.
Make your life manageable today with Prozac.
Yeah. Good times.
Bread and circuses. Now we just need to get people to, oh wait, I guess they already have lots of cameras in the Waffle Houses. We just need to find a way to obtain all that.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, hip hop. I like this one.
Good times. Let's see. Where's the thing I'm looking for? So this is another thing, Skep. Large appliances are dying sooner by design. I know we've talked about this before, but I'm pretty happy that I have like a 15-year-old Maytag washer and dryer. I've never, ever in the entire life of these things had to have them serviced.
Same with my 10-year-old LG.
Yeah, I mean, LGs used to be pretty good. Not so much anymore from what I've been hearing.
I wouldn't buy one now. I would not buy one now.
I hear, oh, you found a Samsung on sale at the big box store. Yeah, totally buy that. No, that's like, you have to spend a lot of money now to buy something that isn't crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely
That's just sad.
it is sad because it's not fun to have to deal with throwing these things away and upgrading them and all the other stuff that happens.
I hate that they're all like touchscreen too. Like a lot of the ones, so you can get fancy ones that are just touchscreens, so you have no idea if things are broken.
Yeah. So, one more science article. Interaction between two common oral bacteria creates chemical compound responsible for bad breath. Well, it isn't every compound, but it seems to be the most common one. People, some people are just cursed, right? And they do all the things they can do to try to get rid of bad breath. And it's hard for some people. And maybe it's just because getting rid of bacteria is actually really, really hard. So these two bacteria, Fusobacterium nucleatum and Streptococcus gorondonille, I can't pronounce anything.
Yeah, it's a variant of strep.
Yeah, these two basically work together to basically feeding compounds to each other to ultimately produce methyl mercaptorin, CH3SH. So you got some carbon, some sulfur, just good stuff. And apparently that is like Stink City. Yeah.
No, and anything with the word captain in it, CAPTAN, and anytime you see that, it's going to stink because that is a sulfur. It's a odd methyl sulfur combination, and that's actually a dimethyl.
Well, knowing this might, the hope is that it will give them some avenues for helping these people that haven't been able to find some way to deal with it. Because some people are just like, they're cursed and they don't know why.
Yeah,
right.
And maybe there's some way with antibiotics and antiseptics and things that they can actually deal with this stuff. Or maybe there's something they can put in mouthwash that'll interfere with this mechanism, this little stinky dance that these two engage in to produce this compound, because they're literally handing precursors back and forth to each other.
Both of these are die quickly in alcohol. Both of them discorporate immediately.
So drink Everclear.
Yep.
Okay, good. Glad we solved that problem.
Just even beer would do it.
Oh, good. Let's give them some yeasty
for
bread.
a lot of people, the cause of bad breath is just diet. You just have a bad diet.
Absolutely right.
Yeah, it's possible. But some people are just cursed. They scrape their tongue and they brush their teeth 20 times a day. It's not something I have to deal with.
For sure, I'm not.
But I know some of these people that are miserable and they're like, no matter what they do, they can't seem to get rid of it. All they can do is kind of mitigate it. This might actually provide some relief to these folks.
I hope so, because that sucks.
Well, the thing about the mouth is it's the top of the digestive tract. And there's a lot of interesting bacteria, a lot of microfauna in the digestive tract, and the mix that ends up in your mouth is different for everybody.
Really
We're
functional.
such disgusting creatures. Yeah.
Really functional. Artificial intelligence was asked to make a picture of Mother Teresa fighting against poverty. This is beautiful.
That front kid's got some reach on that kick, though.
Nice.
Get that leg up and block.
Yeah. It's not UFC style.
Well, this is the one that I was sharing with people.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I like that.
Oh, I like that. That is really cool.
It's a good thing. Okay, so you know what kind of things we usually put at the end of the show. You know what's coming next, right? You know.
Freedom.
Choose.
Capella Colleoni. Let's see. The sarcophagus in the walls of the Capella Colleoni in Bergamo. You can see the coat of arms of the Colleoni family, which consists of 3 testicles. The origin of this unusual coat of arms likely stemmed from the etymological connection of the family name, Colleoni, and coglioni, the vulgar Italian term for testicles. So far, so good. But why 3? Rumor has it that Bartolomeo was affected with poliochildism. I can't pronounce that. A rare congenital anomaly endowing one with an extra testicle. Appealing as this explanation may be, there is no evidence that this is the case. Besides, the same coat of arms has been used for decades before Bartolomeo's birth. Nevertheless, Coleone's coat of arms must have caught people's imagination, for even the occasional observer will notice that the coat of arms on the gate of Cappella Coleone is heavily discolored. It was perhaps, and still is, commonly believed that it would be auspicious to touch the 3 testicles on Coleone's coat of arms. Even these days, it is not uncommon to see visitors rubbing them. They may not be Bartolomeo's real testicles, but they are, symbolically speaking, still his. If you have ever wanted to touch a medieval mercenary's 3 testicles, search no further.
All right, children, time to rub the lucky testicles.
Now he was quite the colorful person. He had let's see, he was famous as a captain mercenary army during the Middle Ages. As a mercenary, he served the longest in the army of the Republic of Venice, fighting wars throughout the territory in the time before it became modern Italy. Toward the end of his life, Bartolomeo decided to retire in his native land of Bergamo and intended to build a chapel to house his own remains. The chapel was to be built in the medieval quarters of Bergamo Alta, replacing the existing church's sacristy.
The Church of the 3 Balls.
Yes. He had like a battle cry, which I thought was in this article. It was in one of the other ones I read, where basically he had a battle cry that was based on the 3 testicles thing. And I can't find it right now, which is annoying.
have more balls than you.
Yeah, I just like... It just seems like a weird thing to sort of own. It's like, yeah, here's my coat of arms. Yeah, those are 3 testicles. What of it?
That's the chiefly interesting thing about this.
Yeah, 3 testicles.
Italian warlords were a thing.
I was originally going to show the scissoring thing at the same time as that. Okay, so I have it in a different source, but I don't have it ready for the show. Just out of the medieval guy named Bartolomeo Coglione, which means Bartholomew Balls. And in his coat of arms was 3 pairs of balls, and his war cry was Coglia, 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 which means balls, balls, balls.
I like that for a war cry. Balls, balls, balls.
Yeah. Balls, balls, balls.
We've got big balls.
Yeah.
She's got big balls.
So a few more palate cleansers.
Girls can have balls.
The Wikipedia entry for German chocolate cake. German chocolate cake, originally German's chocolate cake, is a layered chocolate cake topped with coconut pecan frosting. Originating in the United States, it was named after English-American chocolate maker Samuel German. I had no idea.
Cheated.
It's not actually a German thing at all. I always wondered about this.
Well, it is. It's just Samuel German.
But not like the German people.
Well, he was probably named for being German.
Being German,
it's,
yeah.
And it's indirectly from Germany, but I agree that it's more directly associated with this guy than it is the company, than it is directly the even though anybody who thinks of it, I always thought it was just German chocolate cake. I never even looked into it. I just thought it referred to the country.
God, I wish I wasn't tired and I could remember what my own notes mean. My note for this is out of context dogs.
Did you have
something having to do?
Oh yeah, it's a dog riding a skateboard that's got like fake jet flames coming out of the back of it.
I
It's
love that.
That's nice.
Dogs are cool. Come on. You never
That
see a
is a
cat
cool
doing
dog.
anything that cool.
That is an awesome dog.
Yeah, that's an awesome
Good
dog.
That is an awesome.
I've seen
awesome
skateboarding
dog.
dogs before, but that is another
That's-
level.
Yeah, that.
Look at him!
That is next level. That
The little dog is like,
little-
wait, what?
little-
He gets a skateboard and I don't? I get this fucking leash, you
no,
son of a
he's
bitch.
going past the inferior dog.
Okay, that's pretty awesome. I got to say I like that.
I like this so much.
Yeah.
Look at his
He
feet
just
up.
gets back on. Oh, and start. Not going fast enough. Gone.
We'll just blow through these palate cleansers. This is basically the result of my teaching efforts.
Oh, I love this one so much. I've shared this with my mom.
He's trying to cut the
Because-
bread with this knife.
That's
So she
safe.
gives her a cutting board. I hope this is a put on. I really do. But unfortunately, it kind of makes me think it isn't.
That is the face.
I sacrificed to
European
teach you
mother.
for what?
She's just staring.
Sadness.
This is wildly good.
Yeah.
Why is this so entertaining?
This is very entertaining.
They maintain their composure the entire time. It's so deadpan, both of them.
Okay. So I have a
Well,
PSA for people because we do PSAs too. This is
Yes,
from the 1990s, and this is called "School is Cool."
School is
Oh no way! Oh,
How
wait, no.
cool is your school?
Yeah.
Cool enough to
I
be
remember
eight
this.
School?
Did you do this? Is
I'm
this for
Denise
you?
Zapata. If your school or class is doing something great, Channel 8 wants to hear from you.
This would make me want to skip school or quit school.
Look at all those
To
white
nominate your
kids.
school or class, write a letter and tell us why it's the best. Mail it to
When
this
was the
address.
Oh, this is Cox.
Remember?
So yeah, maybe it is actually. No, it's San Diego. You didn't do that.
No. I did. It was Fox 29, but it's the same. It's the same graphics. It's the same thing. It just had. Or
No,
not
they
the
probably
same
just
graphics.
recycled it.
Yeah. They
Yeah,
did. They did. Totally did.
So-
Oh man, that's crazy.
And I found like, speaking of not pharmaceuticals, those things, cosmetics, Sora. Here is an ad that is the cringiest freaking thing. It is just absolutely terrible. And this is one of these things that Assassin says, Harry's idea of palate cleansers is sometimes questionable. This definitely rides the line. This is pure cringe. Pure cringe. Love's Baby Soft, 1975.
That's a baby. So love made
This
baby
is so
soft
wrong.
with the innocent
Yes, I
scent
know
of a
this. I've
cuddly,
seen this
clean
before.
baby that grew up very
You know,
sexy.
I say
And foaming bath, body lotion,
the
body
past was
powder,
good.
body
No, the
lotion.
past was
Baby that grew up
terrible.
very
So innocent, it may well be
The past was
sexiest
terrible.
fragrance around. Love's baby soft because innocence is sexier than you think.
This is a whole. There's a
God.
whole series of
So
commercials.
uncomfortable.
It's so uncomfortable. I just like, oh my
Wow.
God.
Wow.
Yeah, that aged really poorly.
Hot.
I mean, it's pretty telling. Like this stuff has kind of been there a long time, but with the connectivity of the internet, people have kind of taken more notice to this type of I don't know what you'd call it.
Ugh.
No, opposite of that. The appropriation and sexualization of like youth, and we're talking underage innocence and youth, and turning it into a selling point, a sexual point. It just that's why it feels so cringe, is because it's that level of cringe, that visceral human response to something like that is something that's kind of timeless as far as I've seen, but the recognition of it in media, and obviously again with the evolution of media going from very limited TV channels to it's everywhere now. You walk out of your house, it's on buses, it's on billboards, it's in your hand, it's at your home, it's in your office, it's everywhere. We wow, like it's just, I think we notice it a little bit more, and we're now in the social sort of dynamic pushing back as people against this type of I feel dirty having watched that thing.
Yeah, I feel pretty dirty about it too. So you know this idea, but you actually can sort of put a date on it. It used to be that ideas of purity and cleanliness had real problems. So, for instance, milk production, and I mean animal milk production. You dirty-minded people. I'm talking about animals. So
I've
going
got
all the way
nipples,
back.
Greg, can you milk me?
Going all the way back to Tudor times, medieval times in Europe. The one place on a farm that had to be absolutely clean, and the people who worked in it had to be clean, was where you processed the milk. That before you basically bring in the milk, you clean it up, you bottle it, you put it in the containers, send it out. And the women who would work there, the milkmaids who would work in these situations, had to be, their hair had to be up, they had to be, clean, right? Because if you weren't clean, then the milk would go off and then you wouldn't have any milk. And that's certainly a problem. So the idea of like the milkmaid and cleanliness being attractive, it all got kind of muddled up in people's brains. Like, you know, cleanliness good, purity good. And that's just one sort of axis of this thing, right? Because
I was about to say, like, that's on top of the sort of thing I was talking about, like that notion of cleanliness. I do see that repeated a lot in advertisements, and you can even look at some of the branding of some products of the milkmaid type of caricature being used to sell that notion of cleanliness and beauty. I mean, being clean is very beautiful.
Yeah, I forget how far back this goes, but I think it's like 15th century Europe. You know, when we started really doing milk production the way something sort of like how we do it now.
But that's the difference between it being a natural sort of social view to something as opposed to this, which is media, like creating something artificial.
Well, I bet that was like something artificial. I'm saying leave the biological imperatives aside. All of the, you know, the gad sad stuff, just set that stuff aside. You know, a lot of times sort of the marketing and the reality can come together to create a mystique about something. And that's why I said, you know, sort of the milkmaid, that sort of purity thing. But this isn't a grown-ass adult woman pretending to be a child sucking on something, a lollipop or a I'm not sure what's going on. I just find it all to be pretty terrible. The world is way better. The spaghetti sauce is better, and we don't have ads like this on. Well, I mean, once I put it away, then we won't have to worry about this ever again. Let me just make that not be there. That's way better.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was really disturbing.
I actually have a whole bunch of way better stuff sort of set aside. But, you know, we've done our 2 hours. Do you have anything you want to add, Sora? Tell me I'm a terrible person for showing that commercial.
No.
Okay.
I love cringe like that.
I love cringe too.
Terrible.
But I always label it as cringe in the schedule just so that I won't confuse it with something else. Functional?
I'm just going to go liberate some more planets and smash some more bugs.
And drop some bleach into your eyes. Skep?
What? I will just comment that I find it humorous that Trump beat the former governor of her own state in her own state that badly. That's a
beatdown.
Yeah, the Republicans actually seem to have some momentum this time.
I mean, she's marginally more popular than Kamala Harris was in the Democratic Party, but not by much. Yeah. I mean, Kamala didn't get a single vote. She got nothing. So nobody was supporting her except her.
Yeah. I mean, Kamala's she's the DEI hire of the administration. Yeah. And, you know, just like Karine Jean-Pierre, I hate that that's who they called forward, but that's who they chose to hire. And they showed they weren't really up to the job, either one of them. Karine Jean-Pierre just points at the admiral. You know,
we'll circle back to that.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I'm going to refer you to Admiral John, whatever his name is. And anyway, how I do go on. We're way over time.
We're not way over. We're only just barely over time, aren't we? We're just a little bit over, like 4 minutes. It's fine. Yeah. We can give them 4 minutes. All right.
If the
well,
union don't mind.
This has been your Minions of the Zoo for Saturday. Thank you, panel. Thank you,